Izzy, what did we witness last night?
Torture.
Was that bad?
I felt like going to sleep because it was late.
You felt like going to sleep. You didn't feel like throwing a rock through the telly.
Yeah, I did felt that too.
I don't know. I just had a sense of acceptance very early on. Once they scored the first one, I was like, "Here, we're going to lose this." Very pessimistic, I know, but the mentality of those players is just so soft. Very easy to rattle them. Just no resolve whatsoever. And it's just sad. So is the season over?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, even though we're in a cup final, I think we had a better chance of winning the one we just got beaten by. I mean, if we can't beat Dynamo Zagreb, I mean, what chance have we got beating Manchester City? It'll be some turnaround. So yeah, there are definitely problems at the club. I mean, the match itself was shocking. We were playing for a 0-0 draw right from the start. And once they got any sort of confidence, there was only one winner. And fair play to them. They scored a couple of good goals, took advantage of our weak defending on the right again. Aurier was poor, Sissoko was poor, everybody was poor. I mean, we looked like a donut in the first half. A big hole in the middle. A Winx-shaped hole. It was awful. And not alone in that. And then I suppose what was interesting was Hugo's interview afterwards, where I know it's hard to tell with English not being his first language, but he did appear to call out certain players and the club in general about a lack of ambition and about players who haven't been playing regularly when they're asked to step up in the Europa Cup game, that they're just swanning around like they're not bothered, that they're the same in training, and like you don't have to think too hard to figure out who he's talking about. And like I've read things like, oh, how can you expect players to be motivated when they're dropped and then they're brought back in and under pressure? It's their bleeding job, man. That's what it is. So if you're Delhi or Winx or Dyer or Sissoko or Vinicius or Bergwijn, right? When you get a chance, you give it your all. You don't sulk because you didn't play in the last game or you were dropped. It's a team effort. You know you're going to get your chance with the amount of games we played this season. You get your chance, you take it. No, not these boys. You know, some of them think they're too good. They think they're better than playing Europa games against Zagreb, it would seem, when they're simply not. They just aren't. So yeah, there's definitely disharmony in the camp, and it would appear it goes beyond the players and possibly beyond the management. I mean, Jose's after saying, again, that he instructed the team to go out and score the first goal. First goal kills the game off. They have to score 4. We score 1 early on. They have to score 4 in the 90 minutes. And they got 2. But we didn't play that way. I mean, we barely had a chance. Like, it's shocking stuff altogether. And yeah, there's people are blaming Jose for it, but
And saying Jose out.
Yeah, well, his position is under ever increasing scrutiny, but I'm inclined to say that we've seen this before. This looks like what happened at the end of Pochettino's days. The players are down in tools. The players collectively are soft. So where does that come from? I mean, Loris was alluding to the idea that it's a culture within the club. And if you have an owner who isn't prepared to do what it takes to go the full high, to go all the way. Look, we were so close to being a really top side at the end of the 2016-17 season. Of what did we do? We didn't push on. And even the season after, we were still doing well. We didn't push on. We signed nobody. Players get stale. We needed investment at the right time. We go and spend a fortune on the stadium. Put all our eggs in a big stadium-shaped basket. The stadium's lovely and all, but 62,000 seats and a microbrewery are no good to us when we're mid-table and only 36,000 people want to go, like it was for so many years. Yeah, like maybe the success from at the end of that 16-17 season, and then when we moved to Wembley and we were getting huge crowds, that's because we were towards the top of the league. That's because we were in the Champions League. It's going to be a whole different game if we're just go back to where we were in the mid-90s. If we finish 7th, it's a good season. We might have a good cup run. We might have some exciting football and some memorable games here and there. That's not going to get in those bodies onto seats at those type of prices, spending that type of money when they get into the stadium. And it's certainly not going to happen, because if one good thing came out of that game last night, is that the fan base as a whole seems to have realised what the real problem is. It's not Jose. It's not the players.
It's Levy.
It's Levy. Of course it is. 20 years. Bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And the best decisions he made were accidents. Like, Pochettino wasn't his first choice. He wanted Louis van Gaal, who went to Man United instead. He got Pochettino. Struck gold. And instead of backing him, I remember some of the things that Pochettino was saying about the stadium, about having a brand new lovely house with no furniture, and about that there was a painful rebuild was needed. No, Levy took the easy way out and hired another manager. And again, I'm not saying Pochettino was perfect. I'm not saying Jose is either. But they've both been let down by the same core of players. You know, like last night, the team that started last night were all there in Pochettino's days. There was no Doherty, no Hart, no Bergwijn, no Højbjerg, no Bale, no Vinicius. None of them started. That was a Pochettino team that started.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't even a million miles away from the team that was playing in the Champions League. We met the Champions League when we got to the final, and Kane wasn't playing. Yeah, Aurier was playing then, Winks, Sissoko, Dyer, Sanchez. It's like they're broken. I mean, they've said that so many times in these videos. The team just seems like they're broken. We can go back to all the same things again as to what that reason may be, but all said and done, it goes to the top. And even if it is all Mourinho's fault, who hired him? Levy. Levy hired him. So whichever way you look at it, it's his fault.
Levy's fault.
So, and if he decides to get rid of him, which there's an argument for doing so, if he's lost the dressing room, if he does that, it's a short-term fix. But if he does that as well, it's also an admission that he got it monumentally wrong. And I don't think he's prepared to admit it. I think he's too stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that leave us? I mean, it just leaves me feeling apathetic. I think I'm going to watch Top Gear on Sunday instead of the film again. I just don't care. Maybe maybe 6:30 on Sunday I'll go, I'll watch the match. But at the moment,
It's just like,
it's just like shocking. it's up there with some of the worst moments over the last 40 years. It's up there with the 1987 FA Cup final losing to Coventry, the League Cup final losing to Blackburn. They were two particularly nasty defeats that I was quite upset about. But yeah, that's up there. I mean, our season was really riding on it. That was our best chance of doing something. It was our best route into the Champions League again. It was our best route to a trophy. And club just has a losing mentality. And I think Jose was right to try and target these competitions, that maybe winning something will turn things around. But the players just don't seem interested. I don't know what was going on. Were they all hanging out with Danny Rose or something beforehand? Maybe so. The way it is, the way they were playing, I think I'd rather have a fat Danny Rose playing. A fat Danny Rose playing left back might have put in a better shift than some of that lot did.
Isn't he playing for the under-23s now or something?
Last I heard, and in fairness to Danny, he could be keeping himself in good nick. I'm just suggesting that since he's not in the first team, that he may not be. That's possibly unfair to him. Just last time he came back from injury, he was a bit heavy. But even if he is, could he have done any worse? I mean, the problems get bigger and bigger. Apparently, we have no money. It's not like we don't have a billionaire owner who could
just donate a few million.
Well, you've got the financial fair play issue, but I'm sure there might be some way around it. You could give the club a loan or something, or do something. But no, I don't know why these people own a football club.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, surely the reason to own a football club is for it to be successful and to win things. These guys might as well be in charge of any business. It might as well just be an entertainment company, a property business. They might as well just be in property. Oh, we've got a nice stadium, we've a nice building. Because the team isn't important to them. But they're going to have to realise that if the team doesn't do well, the business isn't going to do well. You can't coast along without investment the way they did and expect to stay at the top of the game. They got lucky and they got complacent. And the only way we're going to get in better players is to sell the ones that we have. And who's going to want to buy them? Because Levy's probably going to want 40 million for Sanchez and 40 million for Winksy. And at the moment, they're not worth 10% of that. Who would pay 40 million or even 20 million for the likes of those? Dyer, forget about it. It's not going to happen. Sissoko, no. Bergwijn. No club in their right mind would buy him. He came on last night and shot a goal and put it closer to the corner flag. Absolutely fucking pathetic. So, there's absolutely nothing positive to say. Yeah, we're saying after the Arsenal game that we were still in the Europa League. We're not now. We could still finish in the top 4. Surely that's a pipe dream now. And as for beating City, please.
Unless they get a load of small injuries for a week or two.
Well, I think their second team would beat us. I mean, I think most of that team deserves to be dropped, and the under-23 team, including Danny Rose, needs to be put out against Villa. Just drop the whole bloody lot of them. The whole problem with this season is that there isn't enough good players there. There is the nucleus of a good squad. There's a decent first 11 there. But that first 11 does not include Sissoko. It does not include Winks. It does not include Dyer. It does not include Davies. And these players were playing, and if everybody is fit, well, it doesn't include Dele either these days, and possibly not Lamela either. No, he might just about make it. I mean, that's not the first 11 that are good. And unfortunately, that first 11 can't play every game. And when you're playing as many games and trying to do well in all competitions, we just spread things too far. The squad just wasn't good enough to challenge in 4 competitions, and we've been found out. I've been saying this for every year as long as I can remember. We should have just picked one and gone all out. Team for the league, team for the league if that's what we were going after, team for Europe if that's what we were going after. Because this chopping and changing half and half, it just doesn't work. If you concentrate on one competition, you concentrate on it. And if the other competitions have to suffer, well, so be it. Because at the end of the day, we spread ourselves this thin, we're getting nowhere. So, yeah, very, very depressing. So what do we do? If you had the choice, if you had the choice now, what would you do to solve the problem?
Probably buy better defence.
No, right now. I fully agree with you, but there's no buying a defence now with 10 games to go in the season. What do you do right now, before Sunday?
We get Levy to sell the club to some billionaire.
Again, that's not something that can happen. And that's even if he was prepared to step aside, which I can't see happening. Even if he was, that's not going to happen before Sunday. Do you get rid of Jose? Do you send a statement out to all those players and drop the whole bloody lot of them? What do you do? Or do you just play the same team as normal and go on and hope for the best? I mean, if we get turned... Villa must be licking their lips. We could get turned over 3 or 4-0. If we get beat 3-0 by Zagreb, we're going to get beaten 3 or 4-0 by Villa. Now, Villa are a bit Jekyll and Hyde as well. You don't know what's going to turn up. If the Villa that beat Liverpool 7-2 turn up, we could get thumped. Thumped altogether. If that happens... What do we do? If the league is over, well, we might as well just put the kids out. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute shocking state of affairs. But as I said, we've had bad times before. We'll have bad times again, and we'll keep going. But yeah, maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. But this is pretty bad. I mean, it's been such a fucking up and down. And at times, such a poor season. I said before, Jose ball was only acceptable if we win. We're clearly not going to win anything. Mm-hmm. And even when the players don't appear to be shackled by him, when he's not telling them to be ultra defensive, they don't seem to know what they're doing. Big massive hole in the middle of the park, no link between defence and attack. Harry Kane must have a pain in his arse. If he wants out, I cannot blame him. I just cannot begrudge him whatsoever.
I only see him leaving if he scored. Is the Spurs' top goals to score
of all time?
Yeah.
Well, what he still has I haven't looked at the figures recently, but he still must have 50 or 60 to go. Yeah. So that's 2 more years, and he's 28, or he's 27 or 28. He's coming on 28, whatever it is. Like. He needs to stay at Spurs, and Spurs need to play reasonably well for another 2 seasons. He'll be 30 then. He's not going to go at 30. I don't know whether he's going to leave and go somewhere that'll be really successful. I mean, if I'm Harry Kane, that's great and all. Maybe you settle for being second top scorer. Aguero's supposed to be on his bike from City, and they'll be looking for a replacement, and they'll have the money to spend. So if Man City come in for Harry Kane, and if you're Harry Kane and Man City come in for you, they're winning leagues, they're winning cups. Whether they win the Champions League or not, we'll see. But if you put Harry Kane into that team, I'm sure all he has to do is call Kyle Walker to get the lowdown on things. You'd have to go. I mean, it would be some loyalty to Tottenham. It's one thing us being loyal just as supporters, but as a player with the amount of ability Kane has to stay loyal to playing with those amateurs, could you imagine you're Harry Kane and you're on the same team as Bergwijn? If I was Harry Kane and I was on the same team as Bergwijn, I would have fucking punched him out by now. I would have knocked the fucking crap out of him. And Winks. And even though Dyer's a big lad, I would have taken him on too. Because it's just not acceptable. I mean, he must have an absolute pain. So yeah. And if Kane goes, yeah, we might get, I don't know, we might get 100 million. City are probably the only team that can afford him. I mean, yeah, Levy will probably want twice that. But we might get 100 million. Might help to rebuild the squad. But I've absolutely no faith in us spending that money wisely. It's just when we got sold Bale for 85 million, which was a world record at the time. We bought 7 players. Lamella's the only one that's left, and arguably Lamella and Ericsson were the only 2 that were worthwhile. The rest of them were all duds. Or at the very least, they were limited. There was at least 4 of that 7 were duds. The only Chadley did okay for a couple of seasons, but then he went to West Brom. So I mean, he was hardly a world beater. Went to West Brom and was never heard of again. So yeah, I just don't trust the club. If they get a load of money selling Son or Kane or whoever, and Ndombele, yeah, sell him. He's a lovely street footballer. He's got some nice tricks, but just doesn't have the bottle. Just does not have. I would rather have a bruiser in there. Somebody who's going to give everything for the short and isn't as talented. Yeah, he's fine, and Ndombele's fine playing against Sheffield United or fucking Wickham. You know, that's when he looked great against those teams. But yeah, when it's on the line and the going gets tough, nowhere to be seen. Yeah, I'd sell him as well. So yeah, look, we're probably ranting on now at this stage. So yeah, that's it. Look, we can only hope for better, but I think it might get worse before it gets better. And unfortunately, I don't see ENIC and Levy going anywhere anytime soon. So yeah. That's that. Mm-hmm. Anything to add? Look, those lads are not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything fun. What they're going to do right now is they're just going to turn around and start crying. That's it. They're just going to sit there and start crying because they're so bleeding miserable. Because Tottenham have let us down so badly again. They've just let us down. We got an apology from Jose, but I want to hear an apology from the entire team. The entire team need to apologise to the fan base for that show of tripe last night. Yeah, so nothing less than winning every game between now and the end of the season. Anything less is not acceptable. But you know, we could lose them all. So there we go. Enough of that. We're going around in circles. What's the bleeding point? Come on.